Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, family and friends. So, another week has gone by on this crazy train in America that we call the latest presidency. Sheesh. I have a lot of conservative friends, and some of them are MAGA. Actually, I won't say a lot, about 20 or 30, okay, that I actually call friends. And one of them and I and one of them had a conversation last night, and they asked me, what is my problem? What is my deal with Trump? Okay, because for those of you that don't know, myself personally, I'm extremely conservative when it comes to my household. But I am also very liberal when it comes to everyone else's. Like, I don't care what my next door neighbor does. That's none of my business. I know how to mind my business, okay? So I'm very liberal with what other people want to do, okay? I don't care what they do. It has no effect on me. But I'm conservative in my house, okay? And I told him, I said, well, my problem is that I don't believe that MAGA embodies the American ideas that I grew up learning. I grew up in a time where we said the Pledge of Allegiance in school. We actually learned about the Constitution and the amendments. We had social studies. We had government. We had home ec. I grew up in a more, I guess you could say, conservative style, but there was always the knowledge and thought that people have liberty to pursue, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That basically means mind your business, okay? So I went down the list of things that I have a problem with Trump. And we can start, with the First Amendment. He has threatened to jail reporters that don't give up their confidential informants, people that leak information about the Trump administration. He's threatened to jail them. He's threatened to revoke the licenses for broadcast companies that don't broadcast propaganda that are critical of him and his policies. And he's even, whether he was joking or not, he was talking about terminating the Constitution. Now, everybody has heard it. So you can say, oh, he didn't mean that. He was joking. I don't think the Constitution is something that you mess around with. I don't think that's funny at all, whether he was joking or not. I have a problem with that, because that's like saying, oh, well, let's not take the Bible serious. Like, you can't. It's a sacred document, okay, or it's a sacred writings, all right? I also have a problem with, and here's really my big one, the January 6th thing. Those are people that broke and entered. They were breaking and entering. Whether you want to say they were trying to overthrow the government or not, they were guilty of breaking and entering, okay? And they were guilty of property damage, felony property damage, all those things. And he pardoned them because they were on his side. Now, the reason I have a problem with that is because that's like saying, oh, they didn't do anything wrong. They were patriots. Bullshit, okay? And here's the best, some people said, oh, well, you know what? The cops were waving them in and letting them in. You mean after the doors were broke? All right. I'll even give you that. Let's say, for an instance, I agree with you. You know what? Cops were waving them in. If you were standing at midnight outside, walking your dog, whatever, outside, and you saw a Best Buy being broken into, and there was a security guard or even a police officer saying, oh, you know what, there's 100 people here. Yeah, go on in, vandalize the store, whatever, or just go on in. They didn't even tell you what to do. Just say, yep, you can go on in. I'm just waving you in. You know you're not supposed to be in there. You know right from wrong. So I don't care that if you say that there was a cop waving people into the Capitol or not. Those people knew they weren't supposed to be in there because the doors were locked. It was closed. And that's plain to see that you knew you were doing something wrong. And I don't care if it's your next door neighbor, your best friend, whatever, or police. If you know it's something wrong and you still do it, you're doing wrong. That's and the fact that these people want to try to get away with it or try to ignore it, I have a problem with that, because we all know right from wrong. And you can't say that you're the law-abiding citizens when you're committing crimes and then you're making up excuses for why those crimes it should be okay to do. I have a problem with that. Okay. I've never told anybody who to vote for. I always say who to vote against. Like, this is the bad guy. This is the bad person. Don't let this person win. Okay. And I'm going to give you a phrase, and hopefully this is one that sticks with you. You know the difference between Democrats and Republicans. I'm not even going to say liberal and conservative, but the difference between Democrats and Republicans. Democrats will feed 100 people in fear because they're in fear of one person starving. Republicans will refuse to feed 100 people for fear that one person doesn't deserve to be fed. That's the difference between Democrats and Republicans in a nutshell. Think I'm wrong? All right. Well, anyway, that's my video. Thanks for watching, and have a good afternoon.